A half-century ago, nuclear power was seen as a promising source of energy for the future, but war and disasters quickly changed public opinion, and the promise of nuclear power became cursed. Now big tech companies want to bring it back to life. Scott Thuman reports on the renewed interest in nuclear power and the challenges that lie ahead.
It was the first step in a nuclear nightmare.
In March of 1979, one nuclear reactor at 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania suffered a meltdown, an uncontrolled nuclear reaction.
This is easily the most serious accident in the licensed reactor program.
Tens of thousands left.
Panic in the surrounding area was only compounded by a meltdown in crisis management, conflicting reports, and confusion by authorities on exposure and evacuation. All fueled by a disaster film,
The China Syndrome,
about a nuclear emergency released just weeks before the 3 Mile Island accident. And nuclear power that grew out of the oil price shock of the early 70s, producing almost 10% of America's electricity, took a hit. Until now.
There's a new plan to power up a reactor at the site of this country's worst commercial nuclear disaster.
New demand, changes in safety technology, and a search for clean energy alternatives are putting 3 Mile Island and nuclear power back on the map. In a bold move, Microsoft signed a 20-year deal to bring 3 Mile Island's infamous facility back online, which has been dormant since 2019 because other energy sources were more cost-effective. The tech giant will purchase 100% of the energy generated by the plant's remaining nuclear reactor, marking the first time a nuclear reactor in the U.S. has been restarted after closing. There is an almost exponential increase in demand for electricity and a new burden on the grid: artificial intelligence. Companies like Amazon and Google are looking for fossil fuel-free ways to power energy-hungry data centers, which are forecast to consume 9% of the nation's power supply by 2030. That is double the demand of today.
Nuclear power is going to be something we have to do to get to clean electricity.
Edward Key served in the U.S. Navy, led the building of the nuclear reactors powering the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier, and sees nuclear energy as a solution to much of the country's energy issues.
With the understanding that there is demand that will increase, whether it be through data centers, AI, is nuclear the answer?
So when you're adding multiple data centers, you're straining what's an already strained system in a lot of parts of the country. You're going to have to add new capacity for generation. You're going to have to add new transmission lines and other things to meet that demand.
How dire is the situation?
Well, you probably saw the Texas events when they had the big freeze a few years ago. It was very tight. Blackouts happened. We were close to that this last summer in the heat and the summer peaks. We haven't built a lot of big power plants for a while, and as demand grows, that gets tighter and tighter.
The most recent nuclear facility to go online is located in Georgia at the Vogtle plant, where taxpayers picked up a big chunk of the tab. Utility operator Georgia Power borrowed $12 billion from the Department of Energy, or DOE, to add 2 additional reactors to its fleet, making Vogtle the largest nuclear power plant in the U.S. In Pennsylvania, Constellation Energy will borrow an estimated $1.5 billion from the DOE to resurrect 3 Mile Island for Microsoft. Although the U.S. is the largest producer of nuclear power in the world, other countries are faster at bringing plants to life, in particular China and Russia. They're now leading in the construction of new nuclear facilities, and some of those plants are outside their borders and allowing the American adversaries economic footholds with other countries.
What does this mean for national defense?
If you want to build a nuclear power plant today, the Chinese are ones with the most experience and the most certainty about timing and cost. The Russians are building in their country. They're building in a lot of other countries by using a government-to-government lending approach. I mean, the Russians are very explicit about saying, we'll loan you money to build this nuclear plant. By the way, we'll also do an arms deal, we'll do an oil deal, we'll do this other deal.
But with Donald Trump's return to the presidency, the deal-maker-in-chief may try to shift the international balance of power in the global energy market and reassert U.S. influence. For Full Measure, I'm Scott Thuman in Washington, D.C.